Hey everyone, another live stream with Fabio Palvelli and our guest Samy Vincent. Fabio and I met Samy 2 weeks ago and we heard his story and it's very interesting. Usually everyone is looking to the USA, UK, Australia, those markets that are most obvious to everyone. And we never really look into Europe, especially in France. You see, it feels like it is a closed market. It is a market that you cannot enter if you have a language barrier somehow. And it was very interesting to hear the story of Samy, how he transformed from like a freelancer working to some studios, then growing a team, and now he's growing Vincent Atelier to 10 people and growing. We would love to hear more about his journey, his tips and tricks about the French market, everything he faced during this growth journey. Samy, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. And Fabio, welcome. Thank you for doing this together.
Thank you, Anis. Thank you for hosting, and thanks, Samy, for accepting the crazy invitation.
Oh, thanks. Honestly, I'm flattered to be part of the live interview. Yeah, it's really great.
Amazing, amazing. We would love to know a little bit about your background, how you started, and I mean, what happened throughout the way until you became what you are today.
Yeah, so I'm a freelancer at heart, I guess. From the beginning, I learned 3D rendering software like a lot of us did with YouTube tutorials back in 2012. And I actually started my career in Marrakesh, in Morocco. And so over there, the market was a little different than in France. It was more like a luxury market. And it was, I guess, a little tougher over there than it was for me in France. So that was like, I think my first like struggles, I guess I would say, were getting my first clients in Marrakesh. But it was a very good school for me to actually, go out there and try to meet people. So I never really had a network, or I usually went out myself to actually either knock on doors, call people, or literally walk into like stores. I've done that like a lot, so I've heard a lot of no's in my life. But I think like that's what helped me when I came to France to actually start a real studio. I think in Marrakesh, the market was a little, maybe not non-existent, but very, very small, like a small market for 3D renderings in 2013. Plus, it was like a bit of a crisis. Anyways, but yeah, in 2019, I moved to France. And initially, so yeah, there was this business I wanted to start, which was nothing to do with Archviz, which was supposed to be like a software, like SaaS, not SaaS, but like a software as a service kind of business that we were going to do for entrepreneurs or whatever. Anyways, it was like a failed startup. It didn't last very long. It lasted like 9 months, but I came to France like trying to develop that. And then what happened was I decided to go back to 3D rendering and Archviz industry, which is something I knew. And so again, with the experience from, Marrakesh and sales and all that, I took my phone and I just took a list of architects in Paris and I just called like, not all of them, but almost. So this is like my strategy, which was a very like emergency, all hands on deck, I'm going to call everybody kind of strategy. And I really did not have the right portfolio when I was calling all these architects. I had the wrong portfolio for the French market. There was not a match. So I did get a few clients, like one or two, after hundreds of calls, maybe 400 to 500 of calls. So few small clients, like clients that like I wouldn't be able to have now, which would not work with like our business. But I did start to understand who were the players in France. And so that's when I went to go. I heard of the Factory Lab like a few times, and so I called them and asked them if they had any openings. And so I worked with them for about a year and a half. It was a really great experience to work with them. So really talented artists, and I think they showed a different side of Archviz, which I really appreciate, which is like the more artistic side of it. So it's not just like, oh, we're 3D rendering this, model, and just let's put a green tree and a blue sky and then we're done. It's more like, okay, what's like, it's still an image, like what's in relationship to a photograph, or in relationship to a painting, and understanding like the way light works and materials, how they bounce. So it's a whole different philosophy that I guess that opened up that world to me. And so
was it a humbling experience going to a place like Art Factory and be like, oh, I got my clients now, I'll show you how good I am?
Yeah, 100%. No, I went in with like super humble. Like I went in like I was just like I remember during the interview, so with Stefan, who works there now, who did the interview and who showed me, their library and showed me their way of working, and I was just like, this is it. Like this is this is like what we need to be doing. Like, and I just didn't understand that aspect. I think that's like really complicated when you're not like in the business and you don't see it with your own eyes. It's really complicated to understand what's the difference between an image that you sell for 200 300 euros that you do in like 2 hours, and an image that you spend 5 days on and you sell for 2,000. I think it's a really big different market, and I think like we have always this pricing disconnect with like the people that sell at thousands and at hundreds, right? And the guys that sell at hundreds still need to make money. So what did they do, and what did I do back then? Just make like 3 images a day, and you can do that. It's just a different way of like working, and I think it's a difference between like an artist and a technician. I don't know how you would say, like someone that would execute.
A technician.
Yeah, technician, basically.
I think like the internet is very biased oftentimes, because we just talk about the successes. I've shared many times in my career that like when I started out, my fee was $80 for rendering. I was still a student, I had no idea, but I could make like 5 in a day.
Yeah.
And then when I felt like that I could do a little bit more, and like people wanted to work with me for bigger projects, I started to charge like 360 pounds. I was in England at the time, per day, which for me was like amazing.
Yeah.
And then like start to meet people that make renderings, like proper renderings, and they'll tell you, yeah, this image is 9,000 pounds, and you'll be like, I thought I was making money, and you're telling me 9,000 pounds for an image. This was, back in 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
But I think it's still very relevant today, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even for like the kind of studio that we have now, where we have like this price point where we feel like we're at a plateau, and like we can't, like it's hard to go higher. Like, and I push by a few percent, where like doubling seems like impossible at this stage, but I know it is from my experience. And I think that's like interesting about the experience of coming from my background, is like I know that a lot of things are possible when you like mindset shift, and also just positioning, I think, is important. I think that's one thing that's like really maybe disregarded a lot, is the positioning and the product itself. I think you need to not forget, like, before I did all this and all the calls and everything, like I was on my computer till midnight for like 10 years. So,
and I feel like we're unpacking a lot of stuff here. We gotta pace ourselves. People are going to run away. Like, what? Positioning? What do you mean? Like positioning of the camera?
No, you know where you lose them when you say it took this guy 12 years to sell an image for 2,000. Forget it. I'm out. That doesn't sound like a get rich quick scheme. I'm not doing it. 12 years, no.
Yeah, I mean, this is the.
Sorry, Anis.
Yeah, all good. Please go ahead.
Now, like I remember, once I shared a post, and it was one of the most successful posts I shared, that said, "We don't do the things we do because they're easy. We do them because we thought they were easy."
Yeah,
And the disappointment comes later.
100%. I remember when I got into Archviz, actually, it was a friend of my dad's who came into the office, and I was working on Revit at the time, just because I wanted to. Let me back. Initially, I wanted to make 3D models for like cars and stuff, and it was way too complicated. So then I downgraded, kind of, and I was like, let's do architecture. That seems much more easier. And then so I learned Revit, and as I was working with Revit, I was doing like 3D images in Revit in the viewport, with like I don't even know what render they have, like I don't know. And the guy, like that, a friend of my dad was like, like these images that you're doing, you can sell them, and like there's a market for this. I had no idea there was a market for Archviz. It was random, like the way I fell into the business. And he was saying, I think the price point he was talking about was he was saying that my images would be worth around $80, like what you were saying basically. And I was like, that sounds good to me. I was 19, right? So I was like, I can do like 10 of these in a couple of days. $80, that's like huge for me. And then he was saying that he had a studio that was selling them for 800, and I was like, seems impossible.
Wow. Yeah. So from the start, when you decided to make images for architecture until today, would you walk me through the tipping points, like the points where you had really a major change that affected the price? Or maybe did not affect the price, but like affected your positioning, maybe your movement from Marrakesh to France, or maybe other tipping points inside your journey in France?
I think there's a bunch of tipping points, I guess. Well, initially, as you come to France, first one is, this life is a bit more expensive here, so I'm at least doubling my prices. But that wasn't going to make me get very far, anyways, because it was more like a 10x that I had to do. And so that was the first one, which was just like, I guess, out of necessity. You have to make money, you have to survive. I had a family quite young. I got married like when I was 23. I had a kid that was 26, and I was not ready at all. So I put the necessity, like, was quickly like a problem with me. And even when I was 19, I had to like help pay the bills and all this. So definitely initially, like, a lot of my motivation came out of just necessity. So that's been a tipping point throughout my career. And in some way it feels like it almost has slowed me down, where like if I was more patient and not going after like the first person that gives you money, maybe I could have evolved faster or in a better way. I don't know, but anyways, I guess it trained that more salesperson like side of me, which is more like just ready to go out and hunt again out of necessity, just because you have to. And the other tipping point was 100% realizing like how much like of an art like the job that we're in is. I think Fabio, you were saying at one point that you I forgot. I forgot what I was gonna say. I lost the thing.
No,
But
I say a lot of things, so don't
yeah,
worry.
there was something I was gonna say that you said that I forgot what it was. But anyways, the just realizing that it's an artwork, and that oh yeah, you said that you quit the job many times. Sorry, I had a long day. End of the day, like. But yeah, you quit Archviz like a bunch of times, and I did the same. Like I wanted to quit like so many times throughout my career, until now where I'm exactly where I belong. I'm exactly where I should have been this whole time. And because it's not an easy journey, I think, as a freelancer. And
I think that if you don't want to quit at least a couple of times a year, you're not doing it right.
yeah, probably. you have to change something. But yeah, I think like realizing that it's an art was a really like huge eye opener, because not only can you like again position yourself better to people that actually want art, and it demands a higher price because it demands a different like vision, I guess, but also like it's so much more fulfilling to realize, that you're not just doing this, like it's not just clicking buttons and waiting for the money to come into the bank account. Like it's more like you're actually painting something, and it's like makes a difference just visually, like it's just pleasing. And finding that passion was a big tipping point. And I think for sure my experience like when after Factory Lab helped me like really realize that we could do that, like it was possible. It's actually opening the realm of possibility, I guess, in a way.
Perfect. Regarding Archviz and quitting Archviz, I never really thought about quitting Archviz, but like I was at the point, I was expecting a child, and my wife was the trigger, and she said, "Hey, look, you are doing this Archviz thing, images, okay, waking up at midnight just to see if the render is finished or not, and at the same time, you are doing this consulting thing on the side. You need to decide. I mean, I'm not going to raise him up. I mean, the child. I'm not going to raise the child alone up. You see, you need to be a part of this family." And then I said, "Oh, you know what? It's really impossible." And already I was really exhausted. I never really thought about quitting it because it was very good income, I would say, but it was exhausting, I would say. So I took that decision, and yeah, that's it. But I really respect for your, I would say, for continuing the path, trying to balance what you want plus your circumstances. I mean, having a child at 26, look, I don't think like anyone who would get a child was already prepared to get a child. You just get it. Yeah, and then we face, oh, you are always like nice, amazing. Yeah, we are getting a child, we are getting a child. And the moment you have a human being in front of you, now realize, okay, how should I be a dad? Okay. I literally registered to something called Dad University just to know how should I behave, okay, when my child is going to cry, okay, because I have no idea. I mean, literally, I never really had any educational material about how to be a dad. And yeah, it's one of the challenging things. I mean, it is one of the most challenging things in life.
For sure.
If you would,
Samy, sorry, I wanted to ask a question, but
yeah, I mean, go ahead. Yeah, please.
I want to ask you this question because during the workshop we had a little bit this conversation. A lot of people think that activities like the workshop that we do, it's about learning tricks that are going to give you, like, you do something and then you get something out of it, whereas instead you have learned a method that it's structured. It's something that you can put in your pipeline, somebody can do it, and can be repeated and everything. So you have learned something new to add to your set of skills, rather. Now that you have learned this, the question that I wanted to ask you is, do you think that this new knowledge it's going to create more competition, like if we were to share it with more people? Or do you think that it can help raising the overall professionalism of Archviz as an industry?
Yeah, I think for sure it's a twofold. For sure it's you're gonna have some like more competition that's gonna be more brutal and less forgiving. And on the other hand, of course, it can raise the profession. I mean, I think there's no right answer to this one. But I think all in all, it's if you think about Archviz industry as a growing industry, I don't think it's like I think it's definitely has more positive impact than a negative impact. I guess if you say adding competition and driving prices down would be a negative impact, whereas if we add competition but we're driving prices up, like that's fine, I guess.
Yeah, this is basically where I wanted to get to, because like the idea is not only how to get the client, because it's relatively easy if you do it dumping your prices down.
Yeah.
It's more difficult to do it and get paid the right amount, correct?
Yeah, for sure. I think but the thing with like pricing, and again, back to positioning, is that if you drop your price too much, at one point you're not providing the product that the person wants. But at some point you might, like, let's say the person that you're working with does want images, like he needs 15 images of like really low quality. But at that point you are playing a losing game, because anyone can do that, and you have no differentiation with anyone that's just starting the market. Like, you can be replaced. And I think, like, yeah, again, it can be a good service to some, like, let's say, I don't know, young architect in a developing country wants 3D images. Of course, like, all he can pay maybe would be that. But the problem is, if you as a 3D artist are getting these kind of clients, I think yeah, it's a tough way to live, I think.
Yeah.
Perfect. And I mean, in terms of the workshop, I mean, the competition is one of the things we always think about. Like, if you really find what is different about your service and you know how to present it, the competition will be less. I mean, this is what we think. Again, it is our view, because like once we have more differentiators, okay, I mean, it will be easier for the client to choose what they want. And instead of choosing everyone or like valuing everyone based on the price, they have like better direction. Where should I go next?
Huh.
Would you name, like, let's talk about the workshop in case you don't mind. I mean, would you name one thing that surprised you?
I think in the workshop, and you just started touching about this, about like, putting in place like a process and just a certain organization to the business, which is really important. Again, if you want to do like high quality work, like, it needs to be organized. And the way that you guys set up the workshop, and have all these like really valuable like documents that I can tell you guys put a lot of thought into, because I've done a few of these kind of documents, and it doesn't take a couple hours. It takes a lot of time, I think, and a lot of tweaking. And so, like, really, I was really impressed, I think, by the quality of the documents you guys came out with, and the processes you guys put in place, which are, again, like you said, Fabio, not magic, not like manipulation tactics, just straight logic, and just logical processes that can help you go from A to B. So from not knowing the client to actually signing on a new like long-term relationship. So like that's the one thing I think that impressed me was that is the quality. I was expecting something good, but like this was really like great. So yeah.
But like, if you put yourself in your client's shoes, and think of like receiving sort of like the same treatment, right? The way that we treated you with the amount of information, and you do the same for a client, that client will feel the same way, right?
Yeah.
And so like the type of teaching really does carry not only the theory, but also the practical side, because you get to see all the stuff that it's needed in order to make people go like, wow, okay, this is really different, To me, it still blows my mind that there are a lot of people that send out quotes in plain text in an email.
Yeah.
Right? And then they just say, yeah, this is what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
No.
We have a couple of comments. So the first comment is from Olivier. Hi, Olivier. How is everything? So after having worked in the world, doing Archviz in France requires a lot of courage and also chance. I think the only guy who can confirm this is Samy.
Also chance. After having worked in the world, okay, doing Archviz
So,
a lot of courage and chance. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you know Olivier, but Olivier worked in multiple markets with multiple studios. So, and I don't know, the last time I talked to him, he was in Dubai.
Yeah.
He has like experiences in multiple markets, and he's a French guy as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think the French market, at least the one that I know, because I don't know like all of it. There's a lot of different markets. I'm more, I guess, in the niche of like architectural competitions for sometimes it's subsidized by the state. Sometimes it's more like private real estate competitions, but it's usually like a lot of competitions. Like I don't do a lot of real estate commercial images. It's rare. So that's like a different market already. Like those two markets are vastly different. Where one is more like, I guess, based on architecture, and the other one is more based on commercial real estate, I guess, and just selling an image. Which well, I have my ideas on those kind of images and like how they could be. Like when you see like a studio like D-Box, I think they have like done really good commercial images. I don't know a lot of studios that do good commercial images where like they actually, they have something that's I don't know, like salesy but nice.
Write me in private. I'll give you a list.
You give me a list. I'm sure you know a bunch. Yeah, well, I don't know them all again. So, but yeah, courage. I mean, again, go back to necessity. You don't need courage when you need to eat. So there's no thing, But I guess you could make the argument that you need a little bit of courage, but courage is, I think, you just have to face whatever's in front of you sometimes. And chance, of course, luck. This is I believe that of course I'm lucky to have been able to come to France easily because I'm French, so I didn't have to go through the visa thing. That's like one thing that's like luck. I had the like some people don't have that luck. It's a little harder to come. And then you have luck of like a bunch of other factors, of course, so of course I agree.
Perfect. We have another question from Malik. He's saying, how do you position yourself to attract the right type of clients? So the easy answer, there are two answers. I mean, the short one, the longest one. The short one is join our workshop. The long one is to register the workshop. You get the emails about each day, and then you decide if you join. Because literally, there is no short answer about this. You do need to have a training for this. There is like no way you can just, I mean, one sentence, I would say. Yeah, what do you say?
I think for the positioning, like to the clients, like it's about what I said earlier a little bit. Is you need to have a high quality product. If you don't have a high quality product, there's no positioning to be done. Like you're done. It's over. For me, I think like you need to have first a high quality product. Like every time I didn't have work, I was doing two things: making calls and making 3D images all the time. That was it. That was just like trying to get new clients, but also trying to perfect the craft, right? So,
Samy, I feel like this is very good advice, but one thing that I can tell you is that people will only realize this when they hit their head in the wall, because especially when you come from a country that doesn't have much, with a growing economy, emerging economy, people do tend to be the sort of they tend to sort of like jump and then figure out how to fly, right? And on one end, it's an admirable thing, but on the other, it's actually very dangerous because it can put you out of business before starting the business, right? A lot of people think, well, like my images might not be the best, but I get started and then I'll get clients and then I'll do this and then I'll do that. And yeah, you can be very lucky and do it and manage, if you have tenacity, if you have grit, but it can also backfire and it can put you in a very bad situation where you don't get those results. And so, you go back. And so this is I'm glad that you're talking about this, because people need to think of both sides. This is not a reason not to do it, but it's a reason for reflection if you do hit the wall and you say, okay, I gotta reconsider a couple of things, recollect myself, and then start again and try again, right?
Yeah. No, I agree that it can be much more complex when you're not in the, I guess, the right markets. So when I say the right market, I mean like, you got a handful of countries in the world where selling an image at over €1,000 is like doable. Where like in Morocco, I know it's doable, but like it's tough. I think the way you have to position yourself in Morocco to sell those kind of images, you'd have to be really like, you'd have to mix it, I think, with a little bit of design, a little bit of architecture, a little bit of something. You'd have to kind of make it a little bit more magical to sell that kind of price. Like again, the positioning would have to be, for me, like if you were able to do that in Morocco and actually build a business, honestly, hats off, like because tough.
I was in Morocco in 2014. As I told you, a friend of mine was running a famous architecture studio, KO. They did the Yves Saint Laurent Museum, and I got to talk to some architects. And basically, there is a lot of like French architects in Marrakesh,
Yeah.
and they do get like the issue that they had is that they could not get very good talent in Marrakesh, so they had to outsource their images to France, basically.
Yeah.
And so the paradox is that if you were a very good architect or a very good designer in Marrakesh and you had the right contact, you could get paid very well because like you'd be dealing directly with them.
Yeah.
But in a way, it made a lot more sense for them to say, okay, we'll buy the renderings back home in Paris.
It's true. There's this, but in Morocco, there's also a mentality which, like, I don't like, which is they tend to think things are done better, like in Europe, and so which is like shooting yourself in the foot. But
it's everywhere like this, Like I have a very similar story about India, so.
Yeah, so that's like, I think that's an issue. And yeah, my clients, by the way, most of them were like this kind of like French architects, but in Morocco. But it was like it was a tiny market for me. But again, I think maybe if I came now, like with the experience I have, maybe I would be able to figure something out. But I think it's really tough if you're coming from nowhere. There's no like major studio, Archviz studio in the city I was in. The other studios that were like in Casablanca, they were like, pushing out these like really not great images, but just like, I guess, making money, but not like it doesn't make you want to join the thing. So yeah, I think it's really tough depending on where you are. I think where you are, again, it comes to the luck thing. It's and yeah, one of the things that helped me was actually getting out and seeing a different market, but with my own eyes.
And I think you have a lot of merit for that because like oftentimes what people will say, they will use their location as the excuse for not doing certain things, right?
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation many times in the past with artists where they were like, yeah, but it makes no sense for me because I live here and it's there is no market for it. And I'm like, okay, is this what you want to do? Then relocating should be the first step, not trying to get a job. If you already know that it's going to be a struggle, if you already know that you're not going to be paid the right amount, then change position. It's really the most basic thing. And to a certain extent, it's even better to sacrifice a little bit of your career in order to go to a place that can offer you more possibilities than to try and build a career in a place where you know that there are no opportunities, right?
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I think, and this is something I had trouble with. One of the only reasons I went to work with Archviz is because I messed up monumentally. And I had a serious money problem. When I mean money problem, I mean I had literally €100 left on my bank account, and I had a 6-month-old daughter, and the rent was coming up, so I had to move my ass, right? So that's when And so I was like, okay, I need to like get back on my feet. This is a good thing. And honestly, like I was surprised by the interview. The interview was like really awesome. Like, and just made me, I was like, okay, this is maybe worth like actually, looking a little deeper into this because this speaks to me. And it's funny because like I noticed like I also now when I recruit like new people, like I have this kind of because kind of this interview, the way that Stefan kind of like did it and was like explaining this world of architectural visualization. It's kind of the way like I kind of pitch it now as well, where I'm like, okay, well, this is a different kind of image. It's not the same that you would all typically see, and you see that some people are not like moved by it, and it shocks me now when I see people not moved by it. Where I was, when I say I was moved by it, I was almost in tears. Like I swear, it was like, which is ridiculous. You would say like, okay, well, why? But it's like a door opened, and you were like, well.
Now, just one thing. So everybody who I've heard working for them, they always spoke incredibly high of them. Like, it seems to be a very good place to work with. I don't think I've ever met anybody from that company. Maybe I'm wrong, because I've been doing this for a very long time. So maybe sometimes I forget. But the other thing, think how important it was for, you said, Stefan?
Yeah.
To sort of like lead by example and, do something for you because you felt so grateful that now you're trying to do the same for others, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is a great sort of like attitude that people should have, because in my experience, I started in architecture in around 2005. Back then, the teaching was just like, yeah, I had to eat a lot of shit, and now it's your turn to eat a lot of shit. And so, it's like that kind of attitude makes you automatically hate things, right? Instead, like this guy is now, he has built sort of like one stepping stone towards the next generation of artists, and he has done it just by inspiring you. So I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, they inspired a lot of their competition, though.
Look, it's inevitable. People are going to try and do whatever they want to do. This is
Yeah,
a basic life principle.
of
But
course.
in a way, like, in your case, I think that this paid off, right? It's he has created somebody who gives jobs to other people. You support other people. You're doing your own part. So I do think that all in all, the outcome is still very positive, at least for you.
Yeah.
Samy, I have a question. Then we need to go to the comments.
Okay.
You move to France. Did you get a job in France and you moved there, or you moved there completely out of jobs and then you try to get jobs there?
I had literally, so again, I had the French passports. This is the one thing I had which helped me go there without really thinking about it. But I went with my wife, who didn't have a job. I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything set up. I went like basically for a week, and I was like, I looked around Paris, and I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. And then I just went, and yeah, just with I had nothing. Like I had like literally, I had saved up like 6,000. So, and the rent was like 1,000, 100. So that was gonna, and without, I'm not even talking food. Like it's,
Oh
So,
my God.
and my wife was pregnant. She was 5 months pregnant. So,
Oh my God. Okay. Look, so we have Dan said if you deliver your quality of images, you will always you will have always business, great work, inspiring. Thanks, Dan. I think this is for you, Samy. And Anahita Oyar. She said, hi, everyone. During my experience in France, I have found out that people are not very open to new softwares. When we talk about softwares like D5, Unreal, or Twinmotion, they prefer to work with known softwares like Corona or V-Ray. How do you think we can make the professionals in France to trust more in new technologies? I mean, does your client really care about the software you're using, or do they take you the file and continue? I don't know. Do you have an answer for this? How do you convince French people to adapt for new technologies?
No, I don't really have an answer. I think I think yeah, like you said, it doesn't matter with depending on the client. Like if the client gets the image in the end, I don't think the software matters. But if she's talking about more like other professionals, like as an architectural artists, I guess. Um, because I know, yeah, we don't. Not many people use D5 and Unreal. Unreal a little bit, like, and we are like playing with it a lot. But like when we need to do like a high quality work, we don't use it. We use it for like more, quick iterations and stuff like that. And then yeah, Twin Motion, Twin Motion and D5, I guess, the same kind of thing. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, all good. And we have the last comment from Olivier again. He said the French market is a bit isolated from the rest of the world, and the talent is not recognized by the developers as it is in other countries.
Yeah. Well, I think the French language is a big barrier to entry. I think most of my clients speak French. My team speaks French. I mean, they speak English a little bit, but like, it's true that in France, like now, it's not the 90s anymore. People speak English, but in the 90s, no one spoke English here.
You know, there is a funny story. When I went to the MIPIM, I said, let's make a clever move. Okay, and I don't want to go to Paris, from Paris to Marseille, and then from Marseille to Cannes. Let's take another way. Let's go to from my town to Strasbourg, and from Strasbourg directly to Marseille. And it sounds like really great plan. And I wanted to train. It was like an internal train. I mean, it's not like an international train. It doesn't go out of France. So
Yeah.
everything they say is just French.
Okay.
And it was the time, and the train did not move. And each 10 minutes, okay, there will be a new announcement in French, and a couple of people are going to leave. At the end, I was asking people, hey, what's happening? So no one spoke English. Guys in German, no one spoke German. Guys, Arabic, no one speaks Arabic. Oh my God, that's really tough. So after 30 minutes, I said, I mean, maybe I should leave as well. I don't know. And I found a German lady, and she told me, hey, look, you don't need to worry if you are going to Marseille. You can stay here. So
Okay.
they are saying that there is an accident on the way, and the train is going to change the way. And at the end, we ended up going to Paris, and then from Paris to Marseille. So, but like you see, it was like 1 hour. Every 10 minutes, there will be a new announcement in French, and someone is leaving. And guys, what should I do? Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised by not having someone speaking English, but anyway, it has happened.
Yeah.
It is history now.
But yeah, for sure,
Um,
the French, I think they speak French most of the time. Yeah, and architectural terms, it's a language of its own. Like for me, like who's like I guess English was almost my first language. But at the same, I was English and French are like at the same time, I guess. But I have more architectural like language in French than I do English. I know a few terms, and I think the same thing happens with like if you're a French architect, like do you know the terms in English for everything? I don't know, and like so. I think that's one of the barrier to entries, and people outside of France don't speak French most of the time.
yeah. Okay, so we got a comment from Anahita. She said, I talk mostly about Archviz studios. They are not ready to change their workflow.
Yeah, I think if I can answer, I think when you're a studio, and like I've learned this like very quickly as I grow on the team, it's really hard to change software. I mean, unless you're going from Corona to V-Ray, now it's like easy. There's no, like I could do that tomorrow, almost it would happen in a second. It's the same thing for me now. Like I don't see the difference. But when you start to add, like, if I tell people like, okay, we're gonna work with Blender now, like,
Yeah.
that's a different story. Like, I have to stop the whole team. So that's I think as a studio, it's really, really hard to change your software and your workflow. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
So from Olivier again, he said, I think the market is so risky and unstable that not a lot of studios are ready to invest in R&D. And a lot of French studios are French centered and don't open to international clients. It's a loop. So yeah, is it risky? I don't know.
The R&D.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, regarding if it is a risky market, do you see it in this way?
I don't know if the market is risky. I mean, it depends, like, like how much you invest. I mean, the risk, if you invest, yeah. I don't know. It doesn't. Risky. It depends how much you invest. You know, if
Yeah.
it's a few thousand, and yeah,
Yeah, I
and
mean, if you use the same workflow we presented in the road in the workshop,
yeah,
I think, I mean, it becomes more stable.
yeah. I think, yeah. I think the risk is when you are trying to please too much people and you're trying to go after a large market. It's really it's tough because you need to, like, I guess, approach a lot of people to get the initial clients, get that first, massive clients, the people that want to work with you. But it needs to also be matched with what you're presenting on your website or on your portfolio. Again, with the positioning. So yeah, it's risky to go after like thousands of prospects at a time because that's going to cost you a lot of time and money, and could amount to nothing. So that would be risky. But yeah, if you go at it with like a process, kind of like what we learned with you guys in the workshop. I mean, you definitely reduce the risk a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, having a process in general is anti-risky. I mean, somehow you know what to do in case something happens, and you know what is your next step. And if something is not going to reward you, or maybe produce results in the way you would like, at least you go back to the same steps and you see, okay, which step went wrong, so let's fix that step, instead of having this like foggy mind, oh, everything is going wrong and I don't have clients, everything is going down, this like panic mode. Now you are calmer, you see, okay, we have those steps, okay, this one did not really work well, let's improve it. Okay, you cannot improve it yourself, you can find someone who is specialist about that only step.
Yeah,
So Anahita again, she said, I have tried to integrate to Archviz studios in France. The first thing they ask is workflow, 3D Max plus V-Ray or Corona. Guys, why not the new stuff? I mean, look, regarding the new stuff, before you answer this, let me tell you a quick story. I come from Syria, and the first time I came to Germany, I went to visit my friend in Munich. And I went to Munich, and before that, I was in Spain and Italy, and I saw the subways. They were really great, and all of that. Everything was really colorful, nice, new. And I went to a subway in Munich. I saw the building was nice. I mean, the underground was nice. However, the train was so old. And I looked at my friend, hey, look, seriously, this is in Munich. And he said, well, it is still working. Why should we change? And literally, this sentence, I didn't really, I cannot really forget it, because this taught me a lot. For example, like while I was doing 3D in my life, the moment I hear that 3D Max or maybe V-Ray, they released an update, I immediately go and update. And at the same time, I was doing something else. Now I am distracted. I'm not keeping to do the same thing. I'm doing something else, which is learning the updates. And at the end, at the end of the day, I don't have anything finished. So like, always following the new thing is not the right strategy. You always need to follow the thing that is working. So in case Vira and Corona are still working and still reliable, I would stick to them.
yeah.
I don't
I
I
think,
mean, what do you think?
yeah. I agree with you. And at this point, like for us, like at the level that we've reached, it's not really about the tool anymore. It's more about the way you use it and the vision you have. And if you can get to where you want to get with those tools, I don't see the point of using something else unless, of course, you have faster render times. But with these other softwares, I've seen problems with quality and realism and all this, and also flexibility, which is for me like I can't like for me like the glass is not.
The reality is that like at least from what I've seen is that D5, the reason why a lot of people are jumping into it, it's because it has a lot of like presets and things that are just like one click, whereas artists really want to keep a lot of control in the production of an image.
Yeah.
And the reality is that in many studios, like if you go and work in Mir or in Brick, you probably do like 15-20% of 3D work, and the rest it's all like Photoshop, color matching references and using a lot of like 2D assets, because the work it's way too fast in order to be done fully in 3D. And the output, like if you really pay attention and you look at certain animations or images, you can recognize when it's a D5 render, because you have seen the material already, you have seen the sky, you have seen the HDR, and you can upload yours and you can create yours. But the majority of people will use this. Like this is a very good tool for architects, because they just start doing some. It's a little bit like what it used to be a few years back with I don't remember anymore the software that people were doing a lot of like real-time animations, especially with SketchUp.
Lumion.
Yeah, Lumion, exactly. Does it still exist?
I don't know.
But it's like I had a friend of mine. He is still an incredible architect and very creative, and he was using a lot of Lumion to make his animations. His name is Chris Precht. He's a very famous architect now. And he was using that, and he was trolling everybody because people thought, like, oh, is it V-Ray? Is it this? Is it that? But he was using a very simple technique, because he would do a lot of clays with like pink people and just wood materials. So he would mix a lot of like different techniques, and he would fool people to think that this was done in a different way. The bottom line is that to me the software is really irrelevant. I've met a lot of people that work with they do freelance because they don't have people that they have to exchange files with. They use Blender, and they do the whole post-production using Photoshop. They render in cycles. It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot nowadays. Blender is like the rise of Blender is getting more and more like higher quality like Blender portfolios and like I have a guy that's like pretty good at Blender here.
I Fabio, should we get an expert in Blender? I have someone who is doing Archviz in Blender. He's fantastic.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Rise of Blender. I mean, this is a very nice title. Yeah. The only thing I remember about Lumion is that it was so high priced that everyone cracked it even quicker than 3D Max.
Yeah.
So we have another comment from Olivier. Said investing in long-term employees requires a continuous and stable flow of project. Perfect. That's correct. That's why we made the workshop for everyone to stabilize their pipelines.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is exactly what you talked about in the workshop, where creating a stable flow of projects is always about not forgetting that it's still a business in the end. Even if you're a freelancer, it's a business. So you have to you have to have a stable, like flow of clients or new quotes coming in. You need to have like options. And like I've always done this in like, especially more recently, where I've been able to like have the team help me like actually work on projects, and like I can continue. So it's easier, of course, when you have like at least one other person taking care of like the 3D, and so that you're not like only 3D and then no work, 3D, no work. So otherwise it's like 3D and then up to midnight you need to do your thing. So like that's the other option. I still do that today. So
Yeah.
but yeah, so for sure. But in your thing, the process that you guys put in, I think it like demystifies the getting new clients, or at least putting something in place.
Great, thank
It
you.
takes time.
You mentioned now something about having someone else taking care of the 3D and you take care of the business side. If you look into yourself as a 3D artist plus a businessman, do you have a place where you say, now it is enough being a 3D artist, I need to change my personality, I need to wear the hat of a businessman,
Yeah, I think
or
so.
the third guy?
I think it's kind of what happens. Like I'm different. I'm a different person. Honestly, as a businessman, and as an artist, I'm a different person. To be fair, the business I'm selling is artistic. So I'm an artistic businessman. If that makes any sense. So I'm definitely.
I love that. I love it.
I'm selling like lights and materials and all this and composition and all this, but I'm still selling. It's different. Like when I'm doing my art or doing 3D, like it's different. I don't see the time go by as much. To be fair, when I'm drawing or creating a 3D image or testing lights or Photoshop or like cutting something out, this I don't see time pass by. With like getting clients, I see it takes more effort. It's more like, okay, I have to do this. Like I need to like, it's more discipline, less passion. For me at least.
Yeah. It is, yeah, especially if you have to make the sales goals. But yeah, anyway, I mean, having a structure, it will at least make it easier, I would say. We have a new comment as well, I think. Just a second. So from Olivier as well, it is important to understand the difference between a businessman and an entrepreneur. Yeah. I mean, I don't think entrepreneur is like something we are facing. I don't really can. I don't know if I can assign this term to Archviz, because we are doing something a little bit recognized, whereas entrepreneurs are more into trying to do some new stuff. I don't have a clear definition between the both of them, but I don't really know. Are they two different terms?
To
I
me,
don't think.
they're very related. I think I understand like the distinction he's trying to make. Like entrepreneur is like in French, it's the word entreprendre, which is like to I don't know, to try, like it's like to do something.
Undertake.
To undertake, yeah, to undertake. So like it's like, okay, you have a mission and you're going out there. And I think as a businessman, but an entrepreneur should have that, needs to, in a way, because if you're going out, you need to. Going out for me is like selling. You have to sell. And so for me, then there's the link between the businessman quite quickly as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Also the term businessman is different from one to another. So businessman could be someone who is managing the business, not developing the business.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
operations, and yeah, I think businessman, of course, it can be anything, like you said.
Yeah.
It's more, yeah.
Yeah, I think with entrepreneurship, like you get a lot of the pieces of the puzzle, they are unknown. You see, you are just exploring a new thing, or maybe at the end of the day you will land somewhere where you never really thought about. And in our case, it is I would say a typical business. You know the product, you know the end outcome. I mean, it could be also a topic. We can have Olivier as well to discuss it. So, Archviz people, are they entrepreneurs or business people? or maybe the artistic businessman.
I think
Olivier would be a beautiful conversation to have.
So Olivier, you are next. Maybe next week or the week after. Just confirm with yes or no here, and yeah, let's have you. Yeah, waiting for your comment.
I'll watch it.
Yes, I mean
Samy,
definitely.
quick question for you.
Yeah.
Moving forward, what do you think it's going to change for you and your business? And like I really want you to bring me your perspective after you've been part of the workshop to understand a little bit, the before and after, basically.
So where I'm gonna take personally my business. Okay, yeah. For us, as I started the workshop, for us it was really important to keep the quality as well as grow the business, because just so many things I want to like do, and I think like like that has to go through growth. But the importance was like the keeping the quality, and this is where I was worried that in the workshop there would be like it would be too focused on maybe getting new clients and less focused on high quality work and all this stuff. But it really doesn't have to do with that. It's you guys have a way of like again creating a process, positioning that like really made a lot of sense to me. And yeah, for me, I'm definitely gonna use this to grow the company. Like I'm hoping, right now it's about 8 of us. I'm hoping that we can be, like at least double the size. I'm definitely planning to use your process, and I think with time we will change it. We will make it our own. But for now, as a version 1, it's I had a process before this, and I think yours is just a step ahead of like what I had in place, which was a bit archaic, I guess. It was just like very like brute force, like that's how I was. It's just like brute force in my business. That's it. Where like this is more like, okay, well, how can we think about this? How can we set this down? Like you said, like you have step 1 to 5, and when you mess up at step 2 or 3 or 4. It's much more, so I'm definitely going to use your guys' thing. And I do believe, because I have experience and success with a less good version of what you had, I know that it's gonna work for us. Like I have no doubt. I just don't know when, but I think it's in a matter of months I'll have results that will show that it worked for sure.
Yeah, great. Fabio, maybe we need to
Amazing.
change the title of the workshop, the brute force workshop.
The what?
The brute force workshop. I mean, this is coming from this is coming from one of the participants. Then it matters more than the name we put.
Yeah.
We have a couple of questions for you, I think. Just a second, I need to refresh my page.
Yeah, I had one about the rates on how to
Rate your work as a freelancer, as a single freelancer. On what base the price of works in Archviz? So feel free to answer. I have also short and long answer.
I think I try to make it quick, but in terms of price, again, the location matters dramatically. Like I cannot, with experience coming from Morocco, I cannot just tell you, oh, you need to start at 2K. Like I can't say that. I know that cannot work initially, and if you need to pay the bills, you need to start somewhere. But I think like if you're in a country where like they don't have those kind of rates, you need to like find a way to put a method in place to get those higher paying clients. And I think anything under 1,000 is going to be really hard to, I'd say, do something a little artistic. And even 1,000 is I think the minimum where you can start being like, okay, let's think about the light a little bit, like realistically, without like working 15 hours a day, like I'm thinking about that too.
Yeah, so 1,000 is your starting price. If you don't know if it is correct for you, you can join the workshop. You will get a pricing calculator where you will know exactly the price you should put.
Yeah, there's that too. The pricing calculator. That
But
was,
like this conversation about pricing is so complicated and
yeah,
complex. uh, I think that there are so many factors
yeah,
that even on the side of the client, if you offer something, say that you are good, okay, and you're really talented and you offer great work, if you're too cheap, your client is going to ruin your work because they will not appreciate the actual value of the work that you do, and they'll push you around. I've seen it happen. If you are too cheap, they probably won't even consider you. At
yeah,
the same uh, at the same time, if you don't know and you ask for too much, they won't look at your portfolio because they'll think that you're crazy. And so like there is so much that goes into it. I would say if you are in a position where you really don't know how to price yourself, then the underlying issue is even bigger. You need to start having a job first. Because once you have a job and you have seen the amount of work that it goes and what it takes to handle the feedback and talking to clients, then you will have a clear idea what it is that you need to charge for yourself, because then you'll have a feedback loop. You'll say, okay, if I cannot charge that much, I'd rather just get a job and stay at a job. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So it's the proverbial dog biting its own tail.
yeah. That's definitely a better answer than what I said. I 100% agree with you that you need to figure that out before. And I think, yeah, having a job, you realize, okay, first of all, this is what it takes to have a business. This is like around how much time they spend on the image. This is what my life cost me. This is how much I need in profit. This is how much I need in case, marketing costs and all this. And then you have a price, like, with the like pricing calculator that you guys put. The thing that we were saying about the 1/3, that stuck with me, the 1/3 cost, 1/3 marketing and R&D, and 1/3 profit. Hard one to do, but to be fair, we already do it. Like, I would even say, like, some of the images that we do, we will like go a little further, and so, like, sure, it will be cost more, but like, if you consider that's marketing in a way, or R&D in a way, like, you're pushing.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I guess
Once you
it's, yeah,
start once you start to really break down the numbers and look at where it is that your money is going,
yeah,
like there is this idea of we always say, Anis and I never do anything for free ever, but there is a multi-layer dimension to that statement, right?
yeah, of course,
If you can do something for an architect, it's a competition, right? And this architect is young, talented, and they don't know how to make images and they want you to help them. And you'd say, that competition is going to open the doors to work with more architects. If you have a little bit of money in your pocket and you know that you can do it and it's not going to break your bank, that would be not free work but R&D and marketing, right?
yeah,
And so you gotta keep always your mind flexible to the idea of doing certain things.
yeah, 100%.
I mean, we did a full episode about anyone who is looking to make free work and they are happy to do it for free work. We made a full episode about how to use free work to get new clients. So in short, you can use it as R&D plus getting a foot in the door with the clients so they can test, they can see what you are doing. Also, we had another episode with a guy who was running Facebook and Instagram ads to a free image. So and the client need to apply to see if they qualify, if they deserve the free image.
That's funny. I was
And
thinking of one day doing a competition, like, actually, like, doing a competition and having like architects like apply and compete on their project and be like, whoever wins gets an image. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. So
yeah, yeah, it could be something. I mean,
it could be, yeah,
um,
not bad.
but like a free image, a free stuff in general. Um, it conveys different image than what you think. I mean, sometimes the client. It also depends on who is listening to you. So if you say free image to someone who is broke, they will say, "Wow, that's a big chance." If you are they saying, "Hey, look, I'm providing you with a free image for maybe a well-educated client," they will say, "You know what? So the risk is lower. Let's try. Let's see what they can do." Okay. And if you are saying free image for maybe high-end client, they say, "I don't really have time to waste it and make the brief and send you the document just to get this free image." Okay. How much does it cost? I mean, like they need to be sure that you can do the job. Um, it depends really. I mean, the price. The biggest thing you need to take care about the price is the price you are and the image you are doing it for a type of project. The project will determine basically the price. Plus, take care. I mean, consider the client, the location. Yeah, get into the workshop and you will get the pricing calculator. We've talked like the workshop is 3 days. We have like one part for pricing, but like I felt like we are talking about pricing all the whole 3 days.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's see what other comments do we have.
Okay, Olivier, I'm gonna text you, and then next week you'll be on the show. Throw me a couple of topics. Let's get the conversation going.
No, the topic is clear. Okay, is Archviz profession and entrepreneurial journey or business journey? I mean, this
Oh my
artistic
God, we're
businessman.
gonna
Yeah,
really be philosophical about this, huh?
yeah. I mean, we need some thought of stuff here. You see?
All right, all right.
Great. I mean, Sami, it was really a great opportunity to know you. This is number one. And thanks for joining the workshop. And I hope we will have more conversations in the future. I mean, plus I need to mention that you were like one of the first guys who made the task quickly. Even it wasn't like what you wanted, but like you made everything quickly. That was impressive, really. Like when I saw it, oh my god, this guy did it. Printed everything quickly. Like he doesn't really care if it's like the binding is nice, everything if the cover is hard. He tried it, like he sees like it is in front of him. That was really perfect.
That's my philosophy on everything. I think just like
I love it.
brute
Yeah.
I
force.
love when people get shit done.
Brute force, yeah. I think this is a good headline. Um, it was a great pleasure having you. Thank you very much for the insights. Do you have any last topic or last advice to people who are starting and they want to have a studio and grow it?
Yeah, I think we said it. In terms of advice, if there was one thing maybe I would have given myself as advice back when I started was actually probably get a job. If you're freelancing without any experience in the business, like I think it's interesting to go through the job first and see how that is. Create some stability, but then you need to create the drive and then you need to discipline yourself to work on your business on this at night basically, and that's like the time you have, like no Netflix, like that's like the thing that we hear all the time. At one point, you need to put in the 16-18 hours a day for like a little bit, not forever, but just for a little bit to like get that kickstart, like if that's what you want. Otherwise, like having a job is good too, like that's like, but then you have to land the right job. That's also important. I think you need to find a studio that actually values ArchViz, maybe more toward like that's more focused on architecture, less on real estate. I'm not saying real estate development is bad. I'm just saying like if you go to a studio that's more focused on architecture, they'll have a more artistic vision and they'll be able to communicate that better, I think, than like someone just like shooting out images with a blue sky and a stroller.
Perfect, amazing. Fabio, do you have any last, I would say, advice for anyone who
Nothing.
is looking to join the workshop?
just do it. It's one question that we always get from people is it is it the right time to join the workshop? And we see that people just have a lot of excuses that they make up why they shouldn't join the workshop. And I'm like, look, sooner or later you're gonna be in real need. So why don't you anticipate a little bit the need, learn something, and do it before that things get worse?
Absolutely, absolutely. And in terms of like when is the right time to join the workshop? Are we going to do the workshop every month? I don't really know. We have the workshop now in April 25th, 26th, and 27th of April. It's 3 days. The next one is going to be in May. However, it's not going to be an online workshop. It is going to be a mastermind in the office here in Karlsruhe, Germany. And after that, we don't really know how this will be. Um, the price will increase definitely. It's 3 days. It's really tough. Like I finished the 3 days, I was completely exhausted. I mean, I took like 2 days off.
Yeah, the
Um,
price is really reasonable for what you guys did. Like honestly, respect.
and the question that I really struggle to address, or at least like the complete topic is, you don't need to wait until you are dying. Then you come to the workshop saying, "Oh my God, this workshop did not help me." When you are dying, it's very tough to stay alive. You see, there is a mindset which is get money now. If you are in that mindset, get money now, you will see everything you are spending expensive, and you won't be able to join. At least if you join, you won't be able to see the full picture. You will always look for the next trick to get the next client, and there is no one trick to get a client. You see, there is a process. You need to go through the process and prepare for it. The good thing is there is a process, and the better thing is that the process is clear and you have the steps clarified for you, and you have someone who is telling you these steps apply for your business. Start here and then do this, and someone is listening to you. So that's the good thing about the workshop. It's not a course, okay? It is personalized, um, interactive workshop. um yeah, do not die, then come to the workshop. Come while you are still alive, while you're still working, and you feel like, yes, I need like a little bit of push to go to the next level. And we prepared an episode. Maybe it will be a different format. Is like the 6 steps or the 6 phases for your business to grow, okay? And some people are just jumping between these phases. And you, once you see the 6 phases, you will understand you cannot really grow in a sustainable way by jumping between them. You do need to build each step as a standalone step, then build on top of it, not like take it alone. We will release this soon. Other than that, I have nothing. Thank you very much, Samy. Thank you, Fabio.
Thank you guys.
Um, thank you, everyone, for watching and for the comments. Olivier, you are going to be next. See you next week. And for everyone, also see you next week. If you have any questions about the mastermind, sorry, about the workshop, please comment below, contact Fabio, contact me. We are happy to guide you through the process and give you the information you need to decide. Thank you very much, everyone, very much. See you next week.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Thanks, everybody.